Okay, girl, taking a break from my meditation because we gotta talk about this, okay? So, expectations. We've been talking about expectations for some time now. You might be hearing about them in later videos, depending on what order this video is. No, I have published videos where we talked about expectations. Okay, anyway, so we've been talking about expectations, and right now I was doing a meditation, doing some healing work, and then basically I was like, okay, I have this income goal. I'm becoming a vibrational match to it, opening myself up to receiving, feeling safe to receive it. So I'm like, okay, inner children, like, which one of you is resistant to this? And my inner child of mine comes forward, and she's like, me. She's like, I don't want to allow in more money, because in order to allow in money, we have to work hard, and I don't want to work harder. And I was like, okay. And so we did a little bit of a compromise. I shifted some stuff around. She didn't like how I worded something in my website. And basically, I had worded my website in a way of like, I'm going to be here for you. Your transformation is what my entire life is going to be about. And my inner child is like, no, that's not what I want. And so I did some shifts surrounding that, realized that my clients, the clients that I am choosing to align with, don't need me every single second of every single day, because they are capable women who have inner beings that are leading them. They have the tools that are given in each session and the capacity to do the work that needs to be done in between. And then I have my current program set up in such a beautiful way that things just really, really work out perfectly. So I was like, okay. So I paused the meditation, and then I edited my website, and then I went back into the meditation, and I was like, okay. And then I was almost going to move on, and I was like, wait a second. Tell me more. What do you want? Do you want to work less, or what's going on? My inner child's like, well, I don't want to work at all. And I'm like, okay, what do you want to do instead? What do you need? And my inner child, oh, so cute. I'm so adorable. I know. My inner child is like, well, I actually want love. And I want more romance. And so I'm like sitting here in a meditation, and I'm laughing, because my inner children are basically like, I don't care about work. I don't care about money. I want to be held, and I want to cuddle. And if you have a full workload, you don't have time to do the cuddling that I want to do. And I will not be open to receiving more money if more cuddling is not included in the freaking deal. And so I was like, oh my God, okay. And so I was laughing because I was like, oh my goodness gracious. Like, I cuddled a couple of guys when I was kind of dating in October. Damn, was it October? I think it was like September. I was dating in September. Yeah. I haven't gone on any dates in October, I don't think. Maybe at the beginning. Anyway, so it's been like a month. Like, I haven't really been super dating because I've been like super duper healing. But anyway, so I had been dating, and I had the opportunity to get some physical intimacy and closeness. And I was like, wow, like, I really did enjoy that. And my inner child's like, no, like, not only do we enjoy that, like, I want to prioritize that. Like, I want that to be a regular occurrence. I love the way that felt. And I was like, honestly, Queen, I agree. Hold on. Okay, full disclosure, I had to pause it so that I could pass gas. And I'm only telling you this because as you are shifting energetically, like, the energy has to come out somewhere, okay? Okay. So, anyway. So, my inner child. Hold on. Okay. Just making sure that was still recording when anyway. So, my inner child is like, yes, we want to do this cuddling thing more. We want physical intimacy. I was like, okay, awesome. We want to be open to a relationship. We want new expectations in relationships. And so I moved on to working with another inner child, an inner child that is not open to relationships. So the first inner child that I mentioned in this was like, I want love. I want cuddles. I want to be held today. This other inner child that I discovered as I was dating is an aspect of me that is like super duper resistant and like super duper on guard. Like, so on guard. I was, hanging out with men and dating men, and like a lot of like fears came up, which was really, really, um, interesting, of just kind of like me showing up. Like, um, okay, like, example. I was hanging out with this guy who I really hadn't established like a feeling of safety and security with, so I understand like one reason why I would have been triggered in this way. But sometimes, how do I explain this? Okay. So this is gonna be a heterosexual relationship between a cis woman and a cis man. And I'm kind of going to be talking like generalizations, right? So sometimes in the dating dynamics, like, have you ever, as a woman, been on like a date with a guy, or like hanging out with a guy, you have some sort of like physical like contact with a guy, whether you're just in the same vicinity as him, like in the same area, or like you guys are like cuddling, or like he does something and you just kind of have that moment of like, oh my God. And it's not a good oh my God. It's like a oh my God, this is a man. um it's like, oh my God, this is a man, and this man could kill me. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying that I think that femininity is fragile, or that women are weak and that women can't be strong. If you know me, you know Nathallie Hughes, she can take care of herself. But you just have those times and those moments where it's like, oh my God, I am actually really not feeling safe, because I'm kind of defenseless. Like, not really defense. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you understand. If you understand, you understand. If somebody who needs to hear this is like nodding their heads, like, yes, I understand the dynamic, where you're like, oh my God, like, I'm actually like a very incredibly small woman, which is wild, because for me personally, in my life experience, I grew up being, bigger. You know what I mean? So when you have that childhood experience, and then you have body dysmorphia, and you just feel like you are just the most huge person in the world, and you are just bigger than everyone, and nobody is attracted to you because you are so big, which I'm not saying that big is unworthy of love. I'm just talking about my experience. Of course, I do not think that. And when you connect with like a grown man, you're like, oh my God, I'm not as big as I thought that I was, first of all. And then you're like, second of all, I'm actually so small. And you're like, and you're like, I'm really small. A little bit too small. I'm so small. I don't feel safe. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like, I have those moments. Like several times, dating, where I just felt myself like, I hadn't experienced being triggered like that in a very, very long time, or maybe even ever, where I just literally, like, my body was like literally tensing up. Like, I felt like, 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 how do I explain? Like, tensing up is the only way that I can explain. Like, you kind of like, do you know those dogs? Yeah, you know the ones. You know those dogs where like, they like stand and they like, do they put one leg out or something? But it's like they make their body really, really hard, and they like don't move. Do you know what I mean? And it's like a specific dog. Um, it like felt like that. Like, my body like was literally like freeze response. Like, don't fucking move. You're in danger, girl. Like, oh my God. And so I had experienced those moments, and it was like, oh, holy shit, like, I don't feel safe. And so, after those experiences, what I realized is like, okay, there's an aspect of me that like does not feel safe around men at all. So I'm like, okay, we need to do some inner child healing work over this aspect of me that does not feel like men are safe. So, doing a little bit of that work, I came to a couple different conclusions about several things, and here they are. Number one, a lot of the stories that I'm telling myself about men not being safe are actually ancestral. We inherit things in our DNA. We're talking a little bit about intergenerational trauma. In my DNA, there is a history on both sides of my family line of women being, and this is trigger warning here, of women being raped or sexually assaulted or physically abused by men. And so I have this biological wiring that says men are dangerous, stay away from men so that you can be safe. Close yourself off to men, don't open yourself up to men. Men are not safe. And this is something that, putting a little bit of like family business out there, one of the ways that I observed this was in my own mother, just talking about the wound of not being able to trust men and not feeling safe to open up to men. My mother and my father's relationship dynamic, they were together on and off for the entirety of my life. And one of the things that my mom would say constantly to my dad is like, you don't love me, you just love the things that I do for you. And so we can look at the relationship dynamic over the years and different things that we know now. And one of the things that I gathered from that was that that wasn't necessarily the case. My mom didn't have the capacity to open herself up to receive the love that my dad was offering. He also didn't have the capacity, but right now we're talking about women in their relationship to men. So my mom would open herself up to receive love from my dad. She would hit an upper limit, and then there would be a fight, and then she would close herself off, and then they would separate, and then they would come back together, and then it would be great, and then she would hit an upper limit, and then close herself off, and then they would fight, and then it would be a breakup, and then come back, and that cycle. And so I grew up hearing from my mom, my sisters, men are unsafe. Do not trust men. My sisters, trying to be helpful when I was a kid, would talk to me, like when I was like a really small child, they would talk to me and they would say stuff like, like, dad is just not going to stick around, and dad is not reliable, and dad is not like other dads, and like, basically like, dad is just going through stuff. And they were trying to show up and say like, we don't want our younger sister to go through the hurt and the pain that we experience, and so we want to explain to her that this is how our dad is, so that way she isn't as hurt as we are over the years. But it actually didn't have the effect that they were hoping for. It had the effect of where I closed myself off from my father, not just from that experience, but from all of my experience. And I never opened myself up to actually having a relationship with my father when he did come around, because I was already being told when he wasn't around by the women who I was around that he wasn't safe, and that you shouldn't expect anything from him, and that you shouldn't allow yourself to be vulnerable with him, and you just should not open yourself up to receiving love from your father. So for many years, I really hated my dad. I really resented my dad, and I really pushed my dad away, even when he was, trying to be more involved in my life and trying to have more of a relationship with me. I just did not allow myself to go down that path, because I knew, or I thought that I knew, that it would be hurt and that it would be pain if I walked down that path. Sorry, I just had to take a moment, and I had to take a beat because I didn't want to start crying. because there's just some times where before my dad died, these last couple years of his life, our relationship did grow and we did have more memories. But it's like, if I had known then what I know now, then things would be so much different. And, so men, relationships with men, opening yourself up to receive love from men. So a lot of my distrust of men doesn't actually come from my own experience. It comes from experiences that I have been told. So as a kid, even when I was experiencing other things, like let's say with like boys or something like that, my point of attraction, even when I was having like crushes in elementary school, was already boys are unsafe, men are unsafe. Do you feel me? So basically what we're just recognizing is that those stories don't belong to you. Those stories don't belong to me. The stories that I was telling myself created an expectation of men to disappoint me, an expectation of men to let me down. It became a self-fulfilling prophecy where I look back over romantic situations, not just over the past dating that I did, a couple weeks ago, whatever, but over the past several years. Dating and love and romance, I really showed up. And I had the expectation that I would be disappointed, but I wasn't aware that I expected to be disappointed. And so I was setting myself up for disappointment because I was under the impression that I was open to receiving love, that I actually wasn't open to receiving love. That I actually wasn't open to receiving. Do you know what I mean? So it's like I thought that I was showing up open to receiving love, but I actually wasn't, because I never felt safe and I never felt like I could be vulnerable. And so that was me. I was showing up subconsciously, self-sabotaging relationships and things before they could get off the ground, or different things like that, as a way to keep myself safe from men who would just hurt me and disappoint me. Right. So one of the things that I really learned over dating most recently, and actually like going out on dates with guys and like hanging out with guys and kind of like hooking up with guys a little bit, I learned that I'm a vibrational match for more than I thought that I was. And so I have to explain what I experienced and what I expected and why I expected it first. So I believed that men were not nurturers. And this is something like, if I called my mom on the phone today and talked to her about like guys or something like that, and she'd be like, well, like men can't nurture people and men can't take care of people and da 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 da. And she would say it in such like a matter of fact way that it's like, oh yeah, like men just don't have that nurturing whatever. But that's actually not the truth, and that's not the case, and that's not even what I attract in relationships. I was super surprised, actually sitting and reflecting on the dating that I had done weeks ago, to recognize that I attract men who are really nurturing and who are really loving, and who are really caring and who are really kind. And this was such a huge contrast from what I had expected, because like growing up, my brothers were not loving and nurturing towards me at all. And I remember specific instances of like, if my mom was at work, when I was a kid, I could not go to sleep without being pat on the fucking back. Like it would not happen. So when my mom was working and she had to work like through the night, and I would be at home with my brothers, I would like go into like, she's so cute. I would like go into my big brother's room and I'd be like, okay, like I need you to pat me to sleep, like mom. And I literally remember, I have two older brothers, And when I tell you, they were the absolute fucking worst at patting you on the back. My youngest older brother would just sock me in the fucking back, like, and then I just felt like, okay, you're just patting me on the back wrong because you don't want to do this, and you know that if you do a bad job, I'm not going to ask you to pat me on the back again. Got it. You know what I mean? And then my oldest older brother, I'd be like, okay, I need you to pat me on the back. And it just would never be good. Like, they just didn't have the right rhythm. Their hands were too heavy. Like, I was just fucking distressed. I'm like 4 or 5 years old. I'm like, none of you bitches can pat me on the back. Are you fucking kidding me? Oh, oh, it's funny and adorable to me now, but girl, I was going through it. So I like have that experience, and the universe is so adorable and so beautiful, and I just appreciate my inner being. So I was one of the guys that I dated. We call him Eugene. If you guys have heard me reference Eugene in other videos, boom, that's Eugene. Eugene is not his actual name, but his code name is Eugene, right? So I was dating this guy, and his name was Eugene. We went out a couple times, and one night when we were hanging out, we were cuddling, and we were cuddling, and I was laying on him, and he was like rubbing my butt or whatever, and I was telling him, because I was really, really sleepy. It was like really late at night, and I was like, I know that you're not trying to, but if you keep patting my butt like that, like, I'm gonna go to sleep. And he was just like, I can't remember exactly how it was, but he was just like, no, he was just like, I'm not, like, like doing that or whatever. But then instead of being like, oh, like, he wasn't like, oh, no, I'm not trying to be loving and nurturing towards you. And then he just like stopped touching me. You know what I mean? Like, it was just kind of like this moment where he was like, at first, like, no, that wasn't my intention, but then it kind of just like was what it was, because why wouldn't that be your intention, and why wouldn't you want me to fall asleep on you, and why wouldn't you want to take care of me, and why wouldn't you want to nurture me, and why wouldn't you want me to feel safe, and all of this stuff. And so I just remember hanging out with Eugene that night, and we're fooling around or whatever, and I had my hair tied up, like I had like a scarf on my head, and my scarf was like, had like fallen off at some point, and I was like, oh my god, don't look at me, like my scarf is falling off. And I was like, listen, we're close, but we're not that close. We are not seeing me without a scarf close, like we're just not that close. And he was like, it's dark, like I can't see anything, like it's not that serious. And I was like, no, it is that serious. And then later on, my scarf had moved back again while I was moving around. My scarf is like starting to slide off, and Eugene just like pulled my scarf like back up to cover my hair for me, and it was just the sweetest, most simple, like, little thing. And I was just like thinking to myself in my mind, like, man, say that you love me and say that you care about me right now. You know what I mean? Like, it was just an action thing. Like, it was just such a cute, adorable thing. And then I went out with this other guy, and of all of the parts of me hanging out with this guy, who I really liked hanging out with him, and I know why things didn't like move forward between us or whatever, but he was just really cool, and he was just really, really like attuned to me and stuff. But basically, at some point, we were like kind of hooking up, and because of some reason that I don't want to disclose, he looks at me in the middle of us hooking up, and he's like so serious, and there's like no judgment, in his voice. It's just kind of like a curious, like a question that came to my mind, and I thought that I would ask. And he he looks at me and he goes, "Do you only have one nipple?" And I was like, no, I have two. But it was like the way that he asked the question, like, if my answer was like, yeah, I only have one nipple, like, it is what it is, here we are, then he would have been like, okay, like, that's cool, like, that's fine, like, who cares? We're here. You know what I mean? I'm still into you. And I really, really, really loved that experience, because what I had realized was like, oh my God, like, for the longest time, I had heard the phrases of like, men don't care about what your body looks like. And I didn't like where people were coming from when they said it, because the place that they were coming from was like, men are so selfish, men just want to get off, men don't give a fuck what your body looks like, men just want to stick it inside of you and get off. You know what I mean? And I was just like, I hate that. I was like, I don't want somebody to be indifferent about what my body looks like. I don't want somebody like who's like, I'm not picky, I'll fuck anything. You know what I mean? Like, I just like, not like there's anything wrong with being promiscuous or anything like that, but just like, that just didn't do anything for me. And it really kind of like upset me and really made me like closed off to connecting with men. Again, that was something that I had heard, not my actual experience, that had influenced my expectations. You see where we're going with this? So after connecting with these two guys and having these experiences, I was just like, oh my God, it's not about, I don't care about your body. It's about, I accept your body for what it is. You know what I mean? And I would say, I love and accept and honor your body for what it is. You're fine just the way that you are. You're beautiful just the way that you are. I'm attracted to you just the way that you are. And I'm really super grateful that I have those experiences. So, basically what I realized was that I'm a vibrational match to men who accept my body and who will accept me just as I am right here and right now. And I was the person who wasn't accepting me right here and right now just as I am. And because I wasn't accepting me, I wasn't giving them really the 100% complete chance to love and accept me for who I am. I was showing up trying to kind of like just not be open, just not be vulnerable. You know what I mean? So that was like, whoa, like big freaking moment, because it's not that men won't love and accept you for who you are. It's that you were raised by people who didn't love and accept you for who you are. And then you would just think that would be you just expect that other people will treat you that way as well. You were raised by people who didn't love you and care for you and nurture you and treat you well. And so you just expect that that's how other people will treat you as well. And so it's like, okay, it's safe to shift your expectation of men. So number one, if you want to shift out of expectations of men that are rooted in like intergenerational trauma stuff of like, these are not my beliefs, these are not my fears, these do not belong to me. You want to just do like a meditation. At some point, I'm going to come out with a meditation for releasing stuff back to your parents. It just hasn't happened yet. So I'm just going to tell you how to do it yourself. You're just going to get into that meditative state. Let's say you breathe in for 3, hold for 3, exhale for 6, or just breathe in, hold your breath, exhale. Do that a couple of times, and then you can just imagine the light of the universe coming down. Make it whatever color you want, make it soft, soothing light, all of that good stuff. You get into the vibe of it all. You're just allowing a feeling of love, allowing a feeling of acceptance, all of this stuff, and then imagine your parents standing in front of you. You can do it one at a time. I actually have a money meditation up on my Instagram program on IGTV. It's one where I was outside in my backyard. It literally sounds like money meditation, and I like had singing bowls. So go check that out. There's actually like a releasing back to your parents, so you can get an even more in-depth part of this. But you can do it one family member at a time. You can do it both parents at a time, whatever. Just go ahead and release that back to them. You don't have to do anything with it. It's not your emotions and feelings to process. So there's that. And then we all know how to reset your expectations and stuff like that. I've got lots of content up on that that's already been published up to this point. So that, boom, bam. So basically, I just realized like, men can actually be so nurturing. And not only can men be so nurturing and be so loving and be so caring, but I'm already a vibrational match to men that are loving and nurturing and caring. But the reason that certain relationships and things didn't work out, well, one of the reasons is because of my expectations and how my expectations caused me to subconsciously sabotage relationships because I was afraid. So, yeah, that's all. That's literally it. I'm just here to tell you that it is possible for you to have better feeling relationships, and as you treat yourself better, you do naturally become a vibrational match to people who will also treat you better. When I was a vibrational match to men who didn't love and honor and accept my body, it's because I didn't love and honor and accept my body, and I was so mean and terrible to myself. But I'm at a point in my journey where I have connected enough with my inner being that I can love and honor and accept my body enough to connect with people who can do that, or even more so. Okay, so if you wanted to do like an affirmation, it would be like, I am open to rendezvousing with men who love me and love my body as much as I do, or more. Okay, yeah, that's all that I got. You can check out the description for different tools and stuff like that to help you along your journey as you're developing the skills of setting new expectations, allowing yourself to receive support, allowing yourself to be loved, all of that good stuff. And if you'd like to work with me one-on-one, information on how to do that is also in the description box. I love you guys so much. I hope that this helped. Be sure to comment and let me know if it did, and I'll talk to you later. Bye bye.